Tonight, the bomb squad called into action, forcing the evacuation of Richmond apartment buildings. Details live.
A surge in flu and RSV cases puts Melbourne hospitals on high alert.
Charges laid over a neo-Nazi rally, sparking calls for the Andrews government to step in.
Australians caught out in a new billion-dollar scam.
Melbourne celebrates Mother's Day as a woman finds out she's becoming a mum minutes before birth.
And the Saints crash back to earth as Carlton deals with a new case of the blues.
Live from Melbourne, 7 News with Mike Amor and Rebecca Madden.
Good evening. The bomb squad has been called into action, destroying a suspicious package and ordering the evacuation of Richmond apartment buildings twice in a matter of hours.
Specialist police triggered the late-night lockdown with some residents forced to sleep in the nearby town hall.
The bomb squad robot rolling into action. What appeared to be an improvised bomb had been found in a vacant apartment. Residents in 2 Richmond complexes were evacuated, but police left Ben Doran and his mates in an apartment 30 metres away from where the suspicious device was destroyed. Police insist the trio were in no danger.
I was lying in my bed listening, and that's when I heard this loud undercover fire, and then boom.
Police say the device was not explosive, but are yet to confirm what was in it. 5 hours later, another bomb scare for residents in the same buildings.
Got to sort of bang on the door at 12:30 in the morning and was like, what's going on? And they just said, yeah, you guys need to evacuate.
Police feared there was an explosive device in the car park.
It was pretty hectic, a bit scary, but otherwise, yeah, all right. We had somewhere to stay, so it was okay.
Other evacuees were housed at the Richmond Town Hall. After a search, the car park was declared safe, but police are pursuing a man they believe had been squatting in the apartment where the suspicious device was found. His recent behaviour had put residents on edge.
Just a bit of shady behaviour. We had a guy coming and going a couple of times that looked a little bit concerning.
Always had a hood on. I remember that. Always had a hood on, and just kept to himself.
Police have identified a person of interest, a man with a criminal record but no history of using explosives. It's believed the man has been accessing the apartment building for several months. Arson and explosive chemists examined the apartment overnight. Detectives removed several items as they explore possible links between the suspect and the apartment to other crimes.
And senior crime reporter Cameron Bowe has the latest from police headquarters. And Cam, detectives are yet to make any arrests.
Mike, the arson squad is still looking for their person of interest. He was last seen 2 days ago at the apartment building. It's known that associates of his have also been accessing the building. We can confirm that detectives are using CCTV to track the recent activity of their person of interest, Mike.
Cam, thank you.
Melbourne hospitals are on high alert, hit by a surge in flu and RSV cases in children. Health experts are concerned numbers will continue to rise, and they're urging parents to take action.
Raising 2 children under 5
good job.
means dealing with almost non-stop sickness for Thornbury parents Monica and Matt.
Feels like they've had everything under the sun at the moment, and it's pretty back. It's pretty back to back. It's pretty non-stop.
Recently, Elsie and Florence had influenza and respiratory syncytial virus known as RSV. Both are spreading earlier than usual, especially through kids, and hospitals are having to treat more young patients than normal.
The concern may be that if the numbers continue to rise, that will require in the community, that'll be associated with more ED presentations over the next month or two.
Victoria has 7,200 cases of influenza so far this year. That's a big jump from 5,500 at the same time last year. Kids are the worst affected, making up 32% of this year's flu season. For children who end up in hospital with influenza, there's a 10% chance of neurological damage.
Flu and the RSV virus didn't really go away during the summer like they normally would.
As handy as childcare is for parents, it's often the source of many sniffles and coughs.
Bit of a long-lasting effects with the cough, which again means that they can't go to childcare. So it feels a bit relentless.
In the past couple of weeks, flu case numbers in Australia have stabilised, but it's what happens in the next few weeks that will determine just how severe this season is.
The most important thing parents can do for their children now is to get them vaccinated against the flu.
Australian health guidelines recommend everyone over 6 months old be immunised against the flu yearly.
At a minimum, if there's anything else that we can do, we will do it, but vaccination seems the first step at least.
Blake Johnson, 7 News.
Dumped MP Moira Deeming has declared she'll never quit the Liberal Party despite being ousted during a party room vote on Friday. The former teacher says her grievance is solely with leader John Pesutto. Mr Pesutto didn't address the media today, instead posting a short video from the Mother's Day Classic charity walk. Miss Deeming told News Limited she's felt relentlessly hunted in the past few months and is now described as an independent Liberal on the Victorian Parliament's website.
Police have charged 2 people after a neo-Nazi rally sparked ugly clashes in the city. It's triggered calls for the Andrews government to fast-track plans to outlaw the Nazi salute. Officers were caught in the crossfire, pelted with objects and forced to use OC spray to disperse the crowd. A 20-year-old Werribee man is accused of assaulting police and discharging a missile. A second person, a 30-year-old man from Doreen, has been charged with theft, assaulting and resisting police.
Innocent Australians have been caught up in a shock new scam and authorities are powerless to stop it. 7 Spotlight exposed the international crime gang fleecing more than $1 billion from mum and dad investors.
It's a rare look at the inner workings of one of the most sophisticated scamming networks in the world.
It's a bit like being a victim of a scam, isn't it? You feel a bit helpless.
In Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, the Spotlight team and a private investigator tracked down the people raking in $4 million per week from trusting Australians. A $1 billion operation, a rare chance to confront scammers in the flesh.
You've gone from the penthouse to the doghouse, mate.
The Spotlight documentary exposes the faces behind the voices, British con artists with elegant accents. And how exactly they go about stealing money from ordinary, hard-working people.
And their first step is an upmarket online presence.
Victims who thought they were doing everything right.
And gave us his financial licence number, and we were online checking it out, and his name and everything, checked out.
So well planned and elaborate. We just thought we were buying shares.
Shares in companies that are registered in overseas markets but non-existent. This particular network has largely been dismantled with 24 raids and 81 arrests.
These raids are the biggest in history. The most extensive, the most comprehensive of any anti-corruption agency based anywhere in the world.
But there are many more just like this. And if anything, this sting exposes just how ill-equipped our authorities are.
Once it's determined that the offenders are overseas, they just drop it.
Where are the Australian authorities? The Aussie victims here have been left high and dry by our federal government.
Tom Saker, 7 News.
And 7 News Spotlight will have more on that exclusive story tonight on 7 and 7+.
Local councils could be further stripped of powers with an anti-corruption probe expected to recommend major changes. The 5-year IBAC investigation into Casey Council and property developer John Woodman is set to conclude in coming weeks. Council advocacy groups fear it will result in more power being centralised with the state government.
The number of residents disputing high-priced bills has jumped by 50% in the past quarter, while overall complaints are up by a third.
I've seen people with a quarterly bill that's $2,500. If it is that size of the bill is correct, then ask what type of affordability assistance might be available.
The federal government has announced energy rebates for the most vulnerable Australians and for small businesses, but the Council of Social Services argues a more considered approach is needed rather than one-off payments.
A mother of 3 has been found alive 8 days after she went missing in dense bushland. The Queensland woman on holidays in South Australia was found on the Western Eyre Peninsula 10 kilometres from where she was last seen. The 48-year-old was taken to hospital and reunited with her husband.
I instantly sort of fell apart. And just had to pull myself together. She's a very strong and determined woman. And I knew she wouldn't just give up.
She'll remain in hospital overnight.
Parts of a wetsuit have been found in the search for a missing surfer attacked by a shark. The 46-year-old was killed off the Eyre Peninsula in South Australia yesterday. Nearby campers arrived to find the school teacher's mate by the coast.
It's a very tight-knit community. They would all be feeling it. They would all know someone who was involved, if not the victim themselves.
Crews will resume the search for a third day at first light tomorrow.
A political fight is unfolding over JobSeeker, with more than 1 million Australians caught in the crossfire. The opposition is proposing urgent change, an idea welfare advocates say hasn't been thought through.
As the saying goes, there's no rest for the wicked or a treasurer on his post-budget blitz.
Happy Mother's Day to all of the mums.
A personal message amid a political fight over welfare. The coalition withholding support for the government's $40 a fortnight increase in JobSeeker unless Labor considers an alternative approach, allowing them to work 10 hours more without losing benefits, adding $214 a fortnight to payments, even on minimum wage.
This is a thought bubble by Peter Dutton.
Getting more people into work was already a central feature of our economic plan before Peter Dutton started scratching around for something to say in budget week.
But leaving the door open to backing the idea.
We are always looking for ways to make it easier for people to participate in work.
If there was ever an opportunity to get people into work, it's now.
Welfare advocates, though, claim both policies missed the mark.
This proposal will leave behind people who are struggling the most. We have to, first priority, lift the adequacy of JobSeeker.
The opposition adamant its plan is a double win, getting more people into work while taming the inflation beast.
It is a really good way to solve our underlying challenges. It will help to put downward pressure on inflation.
It is a good idea. It would put some downwards pressure on inflation, but the impact would be relatively modest, and I don't think most of us would notice it, to be honest.
The real test of whether Labor has handed down an inflation-busting budget will come when the Reserve Bank hands down a decision on interest rates next month. And if rates go up, the opposition will say...
Inflation is coming from Canberra now, not from the Kremlin.
Rachel Baxter, 7 News.
Russia has denied interfering in Turkey's election as 64 million residents prepare to head to the polls. It looms as President Erdogan's first major test as leader. During his time in power, he's been criticised for rising inflation and the failures in the aftermath of the country's deadly earthquakes. His main rival has spent more than 20 years in Parliament and promises to restore democracy.
A drone attack is believed to be behind a massive explosion in western Ukraine. A critical ammunition depot and a factory was reportedly hit in the strike. Air raid sirens sounded throughout the region. There's been no word on deaths or injuries.
A driver is on the run after smashing into a steel barrier and traffic lights at the intersection of Hoddle Street and Alexander Parade early this morning. The front of the Ford was seriously damaged in the crash and part of the road was closed as police tried to work out what caused the crash and where the driver went.
Melbourne's weather turned on the charm as tens of thousands took part in the traditional Mother's Day classic. Millions was raised for breast cancer awareness and even more spent on spoiling mums.
A sea of pink as 20,000 got active in the Mother's Day Classic.
My beautiful cousin is a breast cancer survivor and we're walking for her today.
Setting out to raise $2 million nationally for breast cancer awareness and research.
It's just been a emotional day, you know, with Suzanne being a survivor, Vicky, our friend, lost a girlfriend only last week.
Over the last 25 years, we have donated $41.5 million to the National Breast Cancer Foundation.
The fun runs go hand in hand with Mother's Day, and for many, gifts do too. Australians are spending an average of $92 on presents this year, with alcohol, food and flowers topping the gift list. Overall, we're expected to spend $925 million, up nearly 22% on 2022. For some florists, this means they're 4 times busier than usual.
Sometimes we have to order some things about a month in advance to make sure we get the quantity that we need for the day.
My mum passed away a few years ago, so it's It's hard, but anyhow, the flowers cheers me up, and that's why I got a lot of flowers for the other ladies, you know, in the family.
It can be a difficult day for some. Organisations like Motherless Daughters can help, offering support to the nearly 4 million women in Australia who have lost their mums.
You might have lost a child, you might not be able to have children yourself. It's just a really difficult day, but again, linking in with those people who understand and just make it a little bit lighter.
Collingwood players are in the good books, surprising their mums in the MCG rooms before the game. Ellie Wicks, 7 News.
Well, the blowtorch is back on Carlton. Andrew McCormack, they have dropped outside the top 8.
They have, Beck, and they're making no secret of their intentions for the rest of the season. Chief football reporter Tom Brown has the latest, and Tom, things now don't get any easier for the Blues.
Andrew, Adelaide's big win today seeing Carlton slip out of the 8. The Blues 20-point loss to the Dogs, adding to this pressure cooker situation now at Carlton. Their season, one way or the other, will be defined in the next 4 weeks. Collingwood, Sydney, Melbourne and Essendon. That's a tough run. The football boss left to appease anxious supporters today. Now, just a week after the club said missing the finals wasn't the end of the world, Brad Lloyd put his neck out. That's the football boss on the line, really, saying Carlton has the players, structures and resources to make the finals this year. The pressure's on, Andrew.
OK, thanks, Tom. Also ahead, a miserable day for the Saints, hit hard by injury against the Crows. Plus, we'll tell you how Christian Petrarca fared at scans on a dodgy ankle, the rowdy spectator who got a little too close for comfort in the Premier League, and an iconic footy mystery has been solved. We've now got the answer to one of the most contentious questions in the history of the game. I'll have more on that shortly.
Thank you,
Got me intrigued. Thanks, Macca. A former Victorian Premier is backing the controversial push to reinstate national service. Details next on 7 News.
Also ahead, a delicate rescue mission on the Yarra.
Australia rocks out at the final of Eurovision.
Later, surprise baby, the 34-year-old who gave birth without knowing she was pregnant.
It's been a beautiful weekend, but we've only got one more day in this sunshine before the weather turns. I'll tell you all about it after sport.
A swimmer has been rescued after he became stranded under the Webb Bridge on the Yarra River. Police were called to help the man around 9 last night. After scaling the perimeter of the foundation, he was eventually brought into a fire rescue boat and taken to hospital for observation.
Jeff Kennett is throwing his support behind a controversial call to bring back national service. The former Premier says it should be compulsory for all young Victorians to teach them respect and discipline.
Backing a different type of gap year.
I'd probably in this day and age call it civic service.
Jeff Kennett wants the old national service reinstated for today's youth for up to 2 years.
I would want it for all men and women, and not just in what I would call the military services, but it could be conservation, it could be in our parks, it could be with our police force, our ambulance service, SES.
This is not a universal answer. We're thinking of how vulnerable young people are, how they're still learning about really how the world works. That does concern me.
The former Premier says conscription did him a world of good in the 60s.
I think it's given me a much greater respect of other individuals. It's given me a very good respect of the chain of command.
But not everyone called up shares the same experience.
We lost up to 2 years of our youth to national service and we've had no benefits. A lot of our blokes did it tough when they were in the army, and then a lot of them did it tougher when they got out.
The federal government has spent millions to entice our current Defence Force to serve for an extra 3 years to help tackle dwindling numbers. And with shortages across many industries, Mr Kennett says this could help attract employees long term.
We're not looking at Australia and its population saying, all right, what can we do now to reduce mental illness, give people a purpose in life, understand each other better?
The Victorian Young Liberals plan to revive the idea within the party at the upcoming State Council. Sarah Jones, 7 News.
Israel and the Palestinian Islamic Jihad have agreed to a ceasefire in Gaza. At least 35 people have been killed in the past 5 days as both sides launched strikes. Egypt brokered the agreement and there was intense shelling in the half hour before it took effect.
History has been made at Eurovision, with Sweden's entrant becoming the first woman to win the song contest twice. Aussie band Voyager stormed home with an explosive performance in Liverpool, earning them a new legion of global fans.
It ended in a battle between Nordic nations.
We have a winner! Sweden! You have won the Eurovision Song Contest 2023.
Sweden's Loreen, Queen of Europe for a second time. Beating hands-down fan favourite, Finland. In true Eurovision style, the night had it all. Croatia, almost bearing all. Liverpool played host this year on Ukraine's behalf. The audience came from around the world.
It's a fantastic evening. The music is wonderful, people are so happy, it's great.
I think I've got glitter on my face, I can feel it.
There's glitter everywhere.
Yeah.
It's like someone's exploded glitter over Liverpool.
That's what Eurovision is, it's a big glitter bomb that just goes off.
The Princess of Wales made a surprise cameo in the opening act, the song by last year's champions Ukraine, with Kate joining on the piano. Australia's entrant, Perth synth metal band Voyager, rocked the arena. Receiving a lot of love from the national juries, finishing ninth.
And we made it into the top 10 of Eurovision. Let that sink in for a little while.
Oh my God!
While fellow Aussie Andrew Lambrou, representing Cyprus, came 12th. With talks now set to begin about whether or not Australia will be back next year. In Liverpool, Sarah Greenhalgh, 7 News.
The Prince and Princess of Wales have released a 5-minute video offering a rare insight behind the scenes of the coronation weekend. It follows the royal family from the day before to the preparations, the morning of the historic ceremony, and into the following day, volunteering.
A footy star is on a mission for his mum to help her find a cure for a crippling disease. Their story is up next on 7 News.
Also ahead, teenagers caught up in a deadly overdose shock.
Ukraine's president holds high-power talks with the Pope.
And new research on the benefits music has on older Australians.
Monday on 7 News, exclusive. Sandy Roberts' biggest battle.
This is my greatest call.
A TV icon's heartbreaking health fight and his plea to every Victorian.
Help me find a cure.
Only on 7 News with Peter Mitchell at 6.
Bombers star Zach Merritt is on a mission for his mum as she bravely fights an incurable disease. The Essendon captain is using his profile to raise awareness for the crippling condition.
From rising star to captain, Zach Merritt is leading the Bombers to new heights.
Merritt, the response.
Great kick.
Doesn't matter how it looks, it's through.
Watching every move is the midfielder's biggest fan, his mum.
Always smiles regardless of how she's feeling.
Brave Kathy Merritt was diagnosed with the devastating neurological condition multiple sclerosis at just 23 years old, before her superstar son was even born.
I was actually relieved, which is a strange thing to say. And I sat up in the bed and I said, well, you don't die from that, and I'm going to get on with it.
So she did, raising Zach and his brother Jackson in the town of Cobden in southwest Victoria. When the family needed help, everyone pitched in.
I'm very fortunate that I grew up in a really small, tight-knit community. The footy club was the heartbeat.
Now an ambassador for MS Australia, the AFL star is using his profile to help raise awareness of the devastating condition, encouraging fans to join its biggest fundraiser, the May 50k Fitness Challenge.
There's no doubt seeing Mum walk with her crutch or her helper, it gives me a great deal of perspective really quickly. So. She still gives me advice on how to play footy though.
Multiple sclerosis is a vicious illness that attacks the muscles, eyesight and blurs the mind. It's now the most common neurological disease striking young Australians.
There's recently been a 30% increase in the number of people living with MS in Australia over the past few years. So finding a cure for MS, finding better treatments and finding ways of preventing MS are now more important than ever before.
On Mother's Day, Kathy Merritt has one wish.
If they ring and say, yeah, love you, Mum, that means the world.
Love you, Mum. These are for you.
Bethan Yeoman, 7 News.
A teenager has died and 2 others have been taken to hospital following suspected drug overdoses on the Gold Coast. The 19-year-old was found unconscious in a garage and was taken to hospital but died early this morning. His 2 friends were also taken to hospital. One is in a critical condition, the other serious.
Ukraine's president has met with Pope Francis at the Vatican. Volodymyr Zelensky gifted the pontiff a bulletproof vest worn by a Ukrainian soldier that's since been painted with an image of the Madonna. The pair discussed the fate of tens of thousands of children which Kyiv says were deported to Russia. Mr Zelensky also asked the Pope to condemn crimes in Ukraine.
New research suggests Australians aren't drinking enough milk. A study from Dairy Australia claimed as many as 97% of adults aren't consuming enough calcium to meet their daily requirements. Some nutritionists describe the findings as alarming. They say milk helps to protect against poor bone health and osteoporosis.
The magic of music is helping ageing Australians get more out of life. Tonight, an orchestra with a passion for performing and promoting mental health is celebrating a major milestone.
They say practice makes perfect. It's no surprise then, the Brisbane City Pops Orchestra sounds so good, they've been practising for 50 years. Longevity is a signature of this orchestra. At 86, Rita West is the veteran, 47 years in the chair. Retired Dr. Roger Allison close behind.
For me, it's like having a music lesson every week with friends. And how good is that?
The polished orchestral pieces are the final product, but the process just as important. Music like this is a mental workout. This exercise good for mind, body and soul.
The music we play just is wonderful. You go home just feeling really happy.
Experts believe it could even add years to your life or change it.
On a Monday night I come out and I live my fantasy life. That is being a concertmaster of a symphony orchestra. Who could say that?
Age is a virtue here, but not a requirement. Youth is welcomed and encouraged.
And that's what I like about it, is it's a balance between being casual, but also holding itself to a high standard.
That standard on display at the 50th anniversary concert at Redcliffe. Tickets are selling fast. Joel Dry, 7 News.
Up next, the moment a stomach ache turned into a surprise baby. We'll meet the 34-year-old who had no idea she was pregnant.
Also ahead, shining a light on a powerful cause across Melbourne.
New advice on how to avoid the winter blues.
And Christmas comes early in a sleepy Aussie town.
The greatest scam on us.
They're like cockroaches.
In an unprecedented worldwide investigation, Spotlight have infiltrated the English organised crime mob.
So these are the scammers getting out of the car now.
They're arrogant, smug, and so prolific.
Basically ripping your life apart.
Ripping off billions from hard-working Aussies.
We're trying to squeeze every last drop.
I feel like such an idiot.
Liam Bartlett goes inside their Malaysian headquarters.
This unit have been given authorisation, shoot to kill.
24 raids, 81 scammers, and $4 million cash. Their 15-storey gold mine and the kingpin behind it all will be exposed.
You got anything to say to your Aussie victims?
It's the biggest investigation of the year. New Spotlight, tonight on 7 and 7+.
Landmarks around the city are being lit up in yellow tonight in memory and support of Victorians impacted by road trauma. 116 people have been killed on the state's roads so far this year, 30 more than the same time last year. Most of those crashes have been in regional areas. National Road Safety Week begins tomorrow with Flinders Street Station and other landmarks in regional towns to light up throughout the week.
Researchers are warning that a change in seasons is likely to spark a change in moods for a third of Victorians. The so-called winter blues can lead to feelings of depression and fatigue, but there are simple ways to ward them off.
When the temperature drops, our spirits can plummet too.
It's a real thing that can be diagnosed.
1 in 3 people develops what some might call the winter blues.
Definitely have a lower level of energy.
It can cause changes in the chemicals in our brain, and it can also affect our internal body clock.
In fact, for some, the colder months can be downright debilitating. Scientists call it seasonal affective disorder, and it tends to be more common in colder climates. But it can happen here in Australia too, with 1 in 200 people formally diagnosed. While in extreme cases medical intervention may be required, for most the symptoms can be managed with a few useful tips.
One of the last things that they're probably thinking of doing is exercise, but the evidence suggests that exercise and being active is one of the best things they can do.
Experts also suggest resisting the temptation to take daytime naps, including more omega-3s into the diet and getting a decent amount of outdoor light, especially in the morning, chasing away those dreaded winter blues. Amelia Mulcahy, 7 News.
A truck driver had the shock of her life giving birth to a baby without knowing she was pregnant. The 34-year-old thought she was suffering from stomach pains when she welcomed her healthy baby girl into the world.
It was a surprise no one saw coming.
She literally touched my stomach and said, "You're having a baby." And I said to her, "No, I'm not." And she said, "Yes, you are."
Last weekend, the 34-year-old's life was flipped upside down.
Oh, how are you, Mama? I'm good. How are you?
Suffering severe abdominal pain and home alone, the truck driver called 000. When paramedics arrived, they could hear Ashley screaming.
I actually had to kind of grab your face. I don't know if you remember, on the bed, and I said, "There's one paramedic who's a midwife in this state, and it's me, and I'm here today. So we're going to have your baby." And that's what we did.
6 minutes later, in the lounge room of her Banksia Grove home, healthy little Marley Ray was born. Reunited with paramedic of 21 years Mel Gardner, Ashley was overcome with emotion.
You're just awesome.
I literally feel like everything I've ever trained for was for that moment.
Yeah.
St John paramedics receive only minimal training to deliver babies, maternity jobs making up only 1% of the 300,000 calls to 000 each year. Today, St John is launching a new program called Stalk, the first of its kind in the country. It means a team of 6 midwives will be on call 24/7 to help deliver babies. Rebecca Johns, 7 News.
A herd of deer has been spotted dashing down a suburban street in Sydney. They were captured on security cameras grazing in a resident's front yard. Animal experts say although they look cute, they are destructive.
We get them sometimes. I've had them before, but not in big groups like that, just 1 or 2. But this time I think, counted 8 to 10 maybe.
They're much bigger than kangaroos and they can cause a lot more damage.
They're increasingly becoming traffic hazards as well.
Andrew McCormack is back with sport now. The Pies, they're sitting pretty up.
They certainly are, Becca, heading back to the top of the AFL table. Up next, the Pies live wire pulls out the tricks against his old side. Nick Dacos was grounded. Welcome back to the coaching world for Ross Lyon. The Saints brought back to earth in Adelaide. Plus details on Christian Petrarca's latest fitness fight, while the Roos have their own injury concerns, and the smoking gun that puts a 4-decade-old footy mystery to bed. Welcome back. Collingwood is well on its way to providing the perfect gift for Mother's Day, winning back top spot in the AFL ladder. A lively Bobby Hill and a towering Mason Cox have helped the Pies to a 41-point buffer over the Giants.
A nod to the mums from both sides before the contest. Then it was down to business, Jordan De Goey getting stuck in.
How's the umpire going to read that? It was high.
Then some Bobby Hill magic to open the scoring.
He couldn't, could he? You are kidding me. How's that for an opener from the ex-Giant?
Jack Ginnivan hobbled off with a knee knock in the first quarter, but returned with a vengeance. The Giants without Toby Green trying to take their chances.
Splits the middle.
But the Pies stepped up the pace in the second.
Wow.
Mason Cox was on fire and he knew it. 5 in a row and the lead was blowing out. The Giants frustrated with Collingwood's momentum.
Wasn't happy about it.
Ash Johnson limped off after this leap. Nick Dacos also treated on the sideline, but given the all clear as the Pies went into half-time at 32 points up. GWS put up a fight with 3 goals after the break.
And he bends it enough.
But it wasn't without a price for Lockie Whitfield. No free kick for this tackle on Ash Johnson, and Craig McRae wasn't happy about it, but Collingwood retaliated in style.
McCreary kills it for a goal.
The Pies heading for the top of the ladder with just 1 loss for the season. Laura Spurway, 7 News.
Max King will likely come straight in for a concussed Tim Membry next week as St Kilda was brought back to earth in Adelaide. A 6-goal-1 opening term from the Crows put the Saints on the back foot and they couldn't recover. Skipper Jack Steele also finished the game on the bench. A reality check for Ross Lyon's Saints.
We would have liked to have been better on a big stage. I'm really quite buoyant and optimistic. We'll get back on the horse and get going.
A frightening concussion to Tim Membry further soured a dirty day for St Kilda.
I reckon he's knocked himself out.
Yep. Jack Steele with ice behind his left knee midway through the final term after a knock.
Steele had a bit of a tweak on his knee, but we think he'll be fine. And we think Max King plays next week.
The best first quarter team in footy, the Crows took that mantle to new heights.
Oh, what a mark!
St Kilda's #1 defence shredded in the Adelaide sunshine.
He'll find a way through. Let the dance begin with Isaac Rankin.
31 points down at quarter time. The coach couldn't get out to his players quick enough. Not quite a spray, but a clear sense of urgency. Matthew Nicks played under Lyon when he was an assistant at the Swans. His young Crows super impressive with lightning ball movement. After getting jumped, the Saints lifted.
Oh, another big lead here at the Adelaide Oval. Owens this time.
Consecutive goals, the margin 27 points at the main break. Not completely out of reach, but this just wasn't their day.
Until the last moment, he gets it all wrong, unfortunately. He's seen enough. Why did I get back into coaching again?
5 goals to a 33-year-old Taylor Walker. The Demons face an anxious wait over the fitness of star midfielder Christian Petrarca, returning to Chief Footy reporter Tom Brown. And Tom, it's a short turnaround ahead of a big Friday night for the D's.
Andrew, tonight Melbourne indicate Petrarca is fine, but Christian's usually pretty talkative and he wasn't keen to elaborate on the extent of his ankle injury at scans this morning. The Demons will release the official results of their medical report in that scan tomorrow. Harrison Petty's a separate concern. The defender has also been playing with good effect up forward in a moon boot, as you can see at scans this morning. At North, Luke Davies-Uniacke is a big blow with his hamstring injury, but Taron Thomas will, I'm told tonight, rejoin the senior program tomorrow. He has completed his behaviour requirements, but I'm told will not play seniors next week. They could do with him. At Carlton, some Blues fans are at their wits' end, Andrew, booing their own side last night. Football boss Brad Lloyd wasn't directly appointed by the current regime and CEO, but he backed Brian Cook, the CEO, and President Luke Sayers emphatically today, saying Michael Voss's appointment was one of the best things to happen to the club.
A significant concession from Carlton's football department after the Blues declared missing the finals isn't the end of the world.
We want to play finals. There's no doubt about that. We're here to play finals.
The football boss also defending their board after billionaire Bruce Matheson declared them weak after Carlton rejected Ross Lyon.
I think Luke Sayers, we're pretty lucky to have him, really. Like, he's a class businessman and one of the best things to happen in the club. Bossy with coming in and the leadership he shows.
Last night's 20-point loss only compounding growing scrutiny on Voss. Cripset shot summing up fan frustration. The Brownlow medalist jeered after snapping, selecting his non-preferred foot.
Oh, boy.
Carlton's ball movement also under fire, Voss suggesting they made progress.
But I'd say generally it was a massive improvement on what we're trying to create.
Tom Brown, 7 News.
Less than a month out from the World Test Championship final against India, David Warner was firing in the short form of the game, smashing a 23-ball half-century in the IPL.
Vintage Warner.
The Aussie star was dismissed for 54. His Delhi Capitals lost the Punjab Kings by 31 runs, ending their finals hopes. Southampton is the first team relegated from the Premier League after a 2-0 loss to Fulham, while Newcastle's manager was confronted by a rowdy pitch invader in a 2-2 draw at Leeds.
Well, that could have been a very nasty moment there. Thankfully, it was just a push with the palm into the shoulder and nothing more serious than that.
Manchester United down Wolves 2-0 to draw level on points with the third-placed Newcastle. Jason Day is in contention to end his 5-year title drought on the PGA Tour, sitting 2 shots off the lead after the third round of the Byron Nelson Classic in Texas.
A great putt to finish.
A 66 for Jason Day.
On the women's circuit, Minjee Lee is closing in on back-to-back Founders Cups. The Aussie holds a 3-shot lead heading into the final round in New Jersey. And for 44 long years, Collingwood and Carlton fans have been fiercely debating whether the ball was out of bounds when Wayne Harmes dove full length to tap it back to Kenny Sheldon and lift the Blues to a famous victory in the 1979 Grand Final. Now, though, vision has emerged that proves the ball was in fact inside the boundary line. This new camera angle is from an ABC camera positioned in a slightly different spot. It was brought to light by Richmond historian Rhett Bartlett, the son of Tigers great Kevin Bartlett. I wonder how many pub arguments there have been over the years over that incident.
I'm old enough to remember it.
Something tells me I don't think Pies fans are going to agree with that.
No. I still don't think
Go back to the old angle.
Thanks, Mac. It's time for the weather now with Sonia Marinelli. And Son, just as expected, Mother's Day was spectacular.
It was, Mike. We were spoiled, and luckily for us, there's another beautiful day ahead. Join me next. I'll have the details.
Hello, Melbourne. This week on Sunrise, we have Victoria's new service, home delivering kids.
Kids, really?
Yep, from school anywhere to your door.
Also, Melbourne's home buying special, the suburbs where prices are set to soar. 40 kilos gone in 10 weeks. How this Aussie mum did it with ease. Plus, Demon star Christian Petracca and his Nana's kitchen rules.
Let's make cotoletta.
Let's make it cotoletta.
Why millions worldwide are tuning in. And don't miss a star-studded roll-up this week. Start with Sunrise.
Hello again. I hope you had a wonderful day with family and friends. The weather was about as perfect as it gets for this time of year, but we are tracking a change which after tomorrow takes us back into a stretch of cold, showery weather. The morning fog rolled in early, but it wasn't as extensive as it was yesterday, and pretty quickly we were dialing up the sunshine, which helped thaw the day out and allowed the temperature to rise. So from a low of 7 overnight, we reached a peak top of 21 here in the city. 21 degrees at the airport and over in Viewbank, and 20 for those in Frankston, and it was a degree or two colder for those out in the west. Once again, we saw the chilly fog lifting to sunshine statewide, and because we're under a mild northerly wind, we saw the temperature recover, reaching higher than yesterday. Mildura on 25, that was the warmest spot. It got as warm as 21 for those in Gippsland. And the clear skies stay with us here in the city tonight. It's fairly uneventful as the city temperature dips down to 11 degrees. But a ridge of high pressure doesn't hold off the rain clouds for much longer. It weakens and allows a cold front to slip through. That's going to whip up the coast late Monday into Tuesday, bringing showers and a significantly colder air mass. That should turn to snow on the Alps. This one clears out quickly but leaves a lasting impact all week long. So it is a wet day in the city on Tuesday. After that, the chance of a shower or two on most days, but there's not going to be much in it. What you will be feeling is the cold outbreak. The city's maximums dropping back to the high teens, but on most days the wind will be light. That's going to make it a lot easier to bear. Around the nation tomorrow, there's more showers for Sydney and Brisbane. We've got showers developing down in Hobart. Just like us though, Adelaide enjoying another sunny day. Back home, there will be areas of fog and frost to start with in the east. Otherwise, a lovely Monday, mostly sunny and mild under a light to moderate northerly. Later in the day, we may get cloud and showers pushing into the southwest as that changes change gets closer, it won't reach us here at the rest of the state until Tuesday. So around Melbourne and Geelong, Monday is all dry. There's nothing but sunshine from start to finish. Minimum starting in the double digits with a mild northerly breeze picking up in the morning. It's mostly 20 or 21 for those in the east, mostly 21 or 22 for those in the west. In the city, warm sunshine and mild winds sending us to 21 degrees. We are done with that fog, so you won't have to worry about that for now. After Monday, our attention does turn to that cold change. It turns Tuesday cloudy with showers and it's just 15 degrees. The city partly cloudy on Wednesday, 15. Thursday, 14 with a shower or two. Friday, 15 degrees with showers. And at this stage, we are looking at a cold and showery weekend. So tomorrow, our last day in this warm sunshine, we're heading for a top of 21 degrees. And then by Tuesday, Beck Mike, we're rugging back up again.
OK, we've all been warned. Thanks, Son. And that's 7 News for this Sunday. We'll have updates throughout the night.
For now, from the 7 News team, please take care. Good night.
Stream 7 News anytime, live and on demand on 7plus. And with 7news.com.au, you'll know the news now.